Hello YouTube, this is me, and this is a video response to Steighexenhammer 666. I hope I pronounced that right. First of all, I'm sorry, or I want to apologize for the mistakes I'll make in English, because I'm not a native speaker. I'm from Germany, and I found this video on YouTube, and I thought about commenting it and share my thoughts on it. So this will be the first part of my answer. I think there will be a second part because just of the length, which is allowed by YouTube to load up a video response. So this should be kind of a challenge, which should lead to a discussion. If you, Mr. Steighexenhammer, are open for discussion, I would be glad about some, let's say, share of thoughts or, yeah, some kind of discussion. So I would love to start my argument where you stopped. So where you stopped was that Christianity is really bad and was a main influence for slavery in Europe, was downholding the rights of women, started a lot of wars, and I even think you're right in some sense. I even think that you can claim the Crusades and the Christians, for example. And I think that there were a lot of preachers in the south of the States in the last century who were claiming that it's biblical or that it's good for a Christian to have a slave because they were not satisfied with Lincoln winning the Civil War in the States. And I'm really sorry for that, but this is not what I did. And I don't think this reflects the teachings of the Bible or of Jesus at all. I think we have to be careful to not say that because of what some Christians do, this affects the teachings of Jesus or the teachings of the apostles, because it does not. And I even would say that, wasn't it William Wilberforce, a Christian who ended slavery in the Parliament in Britain? So does Christianity forces people to have slaves? I don't think so. Yes, it's true. There is no direct critique to slavery in the New Testament. That's right. But isn't it because the New Testament was written in a cultural and historical setting which was used to slavery? And it is true that there are parts of the epistles in the New Testament which tell masters of slaves that they should treat them better. For example, the letter to Philemon, where Paul is really challenging Philemon to take his slave back and not punish him for running away. So, if you read these letters in their own worldview and in their own cultural setting, they are actually really positive when it comes to slaves and also to women. So just for the beginning. Another thing is, you were talking a lot about that there is no reliability on the biblical data. There's no reliability on the Bible. And you end your discussion with the Council of Nicaea, and you say that the Christians don't even know which books belong into their Bible or which books should be part of their Bible, and that the whole process of canonization was a political issue. I don't think you're right in that point. I think you're mistreating history in a lot of ways. For example, the Council of Nicaea's main aim was not to fix a canon. The main aim of the Council of Nicaea was to talk about the heresy of Arian. So it was about refusing Arianism. It was not about fixing the canon. The process of canonization was a little bit more difficult than you say it was. So it seems to me that in your worldview, there were a lot of books in Christianity before the Council of Nicaea, and then the Catholic and political influence Council of Nicaea came and kicked out a lot of books so that it kind of washed Christianity, and then there were only the 27 books we still have in the New Testament left. That's not the case. The case is that the process of canonization is much more complicated. So actually the first person ever to fix a canon of 27 New Testament books was the bishop Athanasius. He was a bishop in Alexandria, and in his Easter letter to his own church in the 360s he fixed that canon, and he wasn't popular for that in the beginning. So the decision to have a canon with only 27 books is not based only on the Council of Nicaea. Another example is that we found a document which is called the Canon Muratori. The Canon Muratori is dated by a lot, no, actually by nearly all of the scholars into 170 AD. So this is like a lot of time before the Council of Nicaea. And these Canon Muratori is a list made by a bishop of the early church. And he made a list of what kind of books they were reading in their church. So this is kind of a really old list of a pre-canon thing. So what do these books, what did that list include? It included 4 Gospels. We know that the Gospel of Luke and John were included because the document is broken and we can't read the first 2 lines anymore. We don't know which were the other 2 Gospels. They might have been Matthew and Mark. They might have been some other, but it's highly probable that it was already Matthew and Mark. So this canon speaks of 4 Gospels. All 13 Pauline epistles are included. Some of the Catholic epistles are included. The first and second letter of John are included. And there are only 2 books not included, which we don't have. There are only 2 books included, which we don't have. Sorry. There are only 2 books inside that canon, which we don't read today anymore. One of them is the Wisdom of Solomon, and the other one is the Apocalypse of Peter. We don't know which apocalypse it exactly was. There were 2 apocalypses of Peter in that time we know about. The first was an earlier book. The second was a later Gnostic influence book, but it's not, we don't know from the Canon Muratori itself which Apocalypse of Peter he meant. So here we have a document from around 170 AD already fixing some kind of a canon. And there is no Gospel of Thomas inside, there is no Gospel of Mary inside, and there is no Gospel of Judas inside. I know that there were these spectacular findings of Nag Hammadi, where these ancient Christian documents like the Gospel of Thomas were revealed to the public, and I know that there's a lot of discussion about these writings, but it's already scholarly consensus that we have to date these books really late. For example, the Gospel of Thomas is dated in the late 2nd century, maybe the early 3rd century. Because of what? Because of the Gnostic influence on the books. They are really Gnostic books. And Gnosticism is a philosophy which came up in the Middle East and the Greek part of the world in the end of the 2nd century. It wasn't there before. So if these books were reliable documents of the accounts of Jesus, they would have, if these books were reliable documents, they wouldn't have been written so late. They are not documents about the life of Jesus. They are Gnostic documents which are philosophical influenced, and they want to give a portrait of Jesus which is not fixed in a historical setting. Here I have to stop and start the second part.